writing a systematic literature review is an art. For me, I've had opportunities to serve as editor of systematic literature review for different journals. I started with International Business Review, and then I was editor of 2 special issues for systematic literature reviews for Journal of Business Research. And currently I'm looking after systematic literature review submissions in International Journal of Consumer Studies. I'm the editor-in-chief, as well as European Management Review and European Management Journal. And before I took over as editor, I have had my own innings as an author of several systematic literature reviews. And I learned a lot of aspects of writing, how to write a classic systematic literature review based on my experience as an author and editor. So I would like to share some of my experiences and give you some ideas as well as some tips to keep in mind when you think about a systematic literature review. Ivana, this is not moving. Ivana was trying to help me, but yeah. Why this is not moving? You have to press very hard.
Yeah.
What? Okay, yeah, so hard press. I was doing soft press. So, yeah. I also handle systematic literature reviews for several other journals, including Services Industries Journal, International Journal of Emerging Markets, and, before I took over as editor-in-chief of International Journal of Consumer Studies. Recently, along with 5 other editors, I had come up with a protocol called SPAR for SLR, which is these days considered as a benchmark article for understanding what to do and how to do systematic literature review. This was published as an editorial article with 3 specific scientific steps suggested as part of the writing process of a systematic literature review, regardless of the subject matter of your systematic literature review. There used to be a protocol called PRISMA, and it is still there, but it did not have very comprehensive guidelines on how to write and publish an impactful systematic literature review. So what we call for here is impactful systematic literature review, because sometimes people write sloppy reviews, and such sloppy reviews get rejected very often. And we identified 3 stages, and we call for 3 steps as part of the writing process. The first step is assembling, and second step is arranging and assessing. Assembling includes identification and acquisition of the articles. You need to have a set of keywords, which could be 6 or 7 or 8 keywords, and those keywords should be grounded based on your topic. And if you just have 3 or 4 keywords, you would not be able to generate, or you would not be able to download all the relevant and appropriate articles. You need to have at least 7 keywords. That's what we would like to suggest. And that is the step 1, assembling. Identification of keywords as well as acquisition of the relevant articles. When you do that, sometimes you get about 500 articles, or you might get about 700 articles, because many articles get downloaded when you make your first attempt to download the articles using keywords. However, some of the articles may not be directly relevant to your topic, so you need to have second step. The second step is arranging. So in other words, we call it as organization and purification, arranging. So in the first step, you might get 600 articles, but it is not easy to write a review article based on all 600 articles, and another reason is sometimes those are not directly relevant to your topic. So you need to do the arranging, you need to go into the arranging, and which is nothing but sort out. So you have to select articles which are directly relevant and appropriate to your topic. And that requires organization and purification. And it can be done based on two criteria, objectivity criteria as well as subjectivity criteria. So objectivity criteria is based on a very easy step, your keywords appearing in the abstract or title or keywords of the other published articles, otherwise your keywords appearing anywhere in the text. You can use one of those criteria, but if you use a second criteria, you might again end up in having 300 or 400 articles. So if your keywords appearing anywhere in the text of the other articles. So you need to have objectivity criteria plus subjectivity criteria to include all the relevant and appropriate articles and exclude all the irrelevant and inappropriate articles. And which also, the subjectivity criteria is based on your reading of those articles. First, apply objectivity criteria based on keywords appearing in the abstract and those kind of things, and then I will go on to that a little bit later, and then go on to purification. Third step is, once you identify, let's say, in the first step you got 600 articles, in the second step you narrow down to 320 or 330 or 270 articles, or it can be even 140 articles. And then you have to think about the third step, that is assessing, evaluation and reporting. You have to synthesize the content of previous studies, you have to look at findings, you have to look at what are the widely used constructs and variables, you have to look at what are the widely used methods employed by previous researchers in their studies, you have to look at what theories they have used, all those kind of things. And pool the studies accordingly, that is, and then a report, then write the review, synthesize and also develop tables and figures. That is the step 3, evaluation and reporting. Reporting in the form of tables and figures. Importance of a review article. A subject advances when studies are designed in a way that adds value based on the findings of prior studies. A review article is very helpful to take a field of research to the next level. And review articles are considered to be important in all subject areas, including medical sciences. And if you write a classic review article, you get a lot of citations. But if you do not write a classic review articles, you don't get citation. So people write review articles in different forms and different permutations and combinations. But it has to be classic. There is a journal publishing only review articles, that is International Journal of Management Reviews from UK, and that journal has a relatively high impact factor because it is publishing only review articles. So classic review articles usually get high number of citations. And you have to understand why we do a review article. And you have to also understand why we do write a literature review chapter in your PhD thesis. Many times PhD supervisors do not end up telling the students that why do you have to do literature review in the PhD thesis. And students sometimes get confused and they just cut and copy, cut and paste, abstract from different other studies, and that becomes literature review chapter. So you have to understand, or we have to understand, the purpose of a literature review. Purpose of a literature review chapter in the PhD thesis, or purpose of literature review article to be submitted to a journal, is to provide new ideas and directions in order to guide researchers to undertake novel research instead of doing recycled type of research. So we are here to do original research with newness and novelty. And we have to identify research gaps based on review article or literature review chapter in the PhD thesis. The purpose of writing a literature review is to look at what kind of research is already done in the past and what research can be done based on identification of research gaps. Identification of research gap is the first purpose of writing literature review. And second purpose is, based on identification of research gaps, you have to provide ideas for future research. So this is important. Topic selection. Topic selection is also important. You need to look at how many other reviews are available, on your topic. If there are 6, 7 reviews all published last 2 years, it is better not investing a lot of time to write another review on the same topic. If there are only 1 or 2 reviews, it is okay. But again, you can also look at methodology of reviews, because review articles are of different types using different methodology. So you have to think about an alternative method in case if someone else has published another literature review on the same topic in a premier journal during the last 2 years. If the other reviews were published 5 years ago, it's all right. And even if another review published during last 2 years, you can still write a review using a different methodology. References. Last month I was in Portugal with an invitation from University of Porto, and Professor Amelia Brandao introduced me to their audience. And she introduced me as father of literature review. I don't know whether I deserve the title. We have mother of Miss World here. So, I'm not the father of literature review, but I did more work in the area of systematic literature review than other researchers. That is a reality. That is why she introduced me as father of systematic literature review. So I have these guiding articles on systematic literature review in some of the premier journals, and one is titled Art of Writing Literature Review, What Do We Know and What Do We Need to Know? And this is having about 1,400 citations within 2 years, and which is a record number in 2 years, and another one in Journal of Business Research, writing impactful review article, What Do We Know and What Do We Need to Know in Journal of Business Research, and meta-analysis and traditional systematic literature reviews, what, why, when, where, and how in psychology and marketing. So in case if you are interested in mastering the art of writing systematic literature review, please refer these articles. That will help you. Okay. Yeah, some of these topics. Social entrepreneurship, there are 6 comprehensive reviews available on that topic. And that means there is no scope for writing another literature review article on social entrepreneurship immediately. So there are 6. Service recovery, there are only 1 or 2 review articles. That means there could be scope to write another review article on service recovery. International franchising, I supervised Alexander Rosado for PhD on this topic, international franchising, and we published a literature review on international franchising. Later, Ilan and his PhD student from Norway, they were developing a systematic literature review, but our review was using 5W aspects as well as TCCM aspects. So our review was different from their review. Their review was more like a bibliometric review. So, however, they had tough time to publish their review because bibliometric review normally gets rejected in premier journals. I mean, bibliometric review is a different type of review because it does not have theoretical contribution. Premier journals always look for theoretical contribution. Okay, so now journal selection criteria. These are different criteria you can think about journal selection. When you write a systematic literature review, you need to use a journal selection criteria. It can be any of this, but you need to have one of these. Web of Science. Web of Science is considered as a reliable database, and regardless of the type of review, you can download articles from Web of Science. Otherwise, you can source, so you can decide your journal selection criteria as SSCI journals, because SSCI journals are Web of Science listed journals, but SSCI journals do not include ESCI journals. So it is a subset of Web of Science, but it includes about 80% of journals included on Web of Science. And otherwise, use a criteria like journals with an impact factor 2+. Especially if you are writing a systematic literature review on a very, very popular topic, you need to have a relatively high level of journal selection criteria, which means impact factor 2+ or impact factor 3+, because otherwise you would end up, if you source article from all kind of journals, you will end up having 500 articles, which is okay only for bibliometric type of literature review. So, because if you are writing a literature review article using any other methodology, and if you have 500 articles, it is going to be a Herculean task. But in the case of bibliometric review, you need to have minimum 400 articles. That is what is suggested. And otherwise, another criteria, possible criteria is UK ABS 2-star and above. They rank journals based on 2-star, 3-star, 1-star, 4-star, those kind of things. And ABDC is Australian Business Deans Council list. ABDC ranks journals as A-star, A, B, C, that kind of using the alphabets. And ABDC B and above is an accepted criteria. So in Asian countries, ABDC list is more popular, and they never talk about ABS, but when it comes to Europe, because of the geographical proximity, people are thinking about ABS list. None of these country lists are perfect. They have their own politics as well, but using one of these lists is advisable. Otherwise based on impact factor. Otherwise it can be even ABDC A and A-star if you have very, very popular topic. And if you're writing bibliometric review, you can also use the whole set of scopus, because you need to have maximum journals if you're writing bibliometric review to ensure that your results are not wrong. Yeah, questions can be answered, but Patricia or whoever is organizing this one has given me only 1 hour, but I'm available here all day today, so after the session, if you do not have time, we can have one-to-one conversation. Okay, article search criteria and article inclusion criteria. This is step 2 in the, step 1 and step 2 is combined with this. You have your keywords, and your keywords should be in title, abstract, or keywords of the other articles. You can use that criteria if you want to sort out the article. Otherwise, you can use the criteria, second criteria is your keywords appearing anywhere in the article text or abstract of the article. If you use the criteria one, you might get only 100 articles or 120 articles. But if you use the criteria 2, you might end up getting 300, 400 articles. Because your keywords appearing anywhere in the text of the article. That is what is criteria 2. That means you get more number of articles. But if you use criteria 2, you have to read all the articles. Because some of the articles may not be directly relevant to your topic if you use criteria 2. But if you use criteria 2, all the articles are definitely going to be appropriate and relevant to your article. But the problem is that you might be still missing some articles if you use criteria 1. Okay, so now title, how do we decide the title of a review article? Very recently, I had an opportunity to handle a special issue on systematic literature review covering different areas of management for European Management Journal. And we received about 135 submissions, and half of them did not have research agenda part. So look at these titles. So what is common in these 3 titles? Yeah, I prefer to have more discussion, but within 60 minutes, I don't have time for discussion. But I have a three-hour session at Kosminski University on Monday morning. Maybe you can come if you want to, learn more. Yeah. So what is common in this is research agenda. Research agenda is very important. Because if you just write systematic literature review without research agenda, your review article is considered as incomplete. And your review article is not going to be downloaded and cited by other people if you do not have research agenda. Other readers would like to know what research can be done in this area in future, and they would like to read your article only if they are going to get ideas from your article. So that is why I would like to highlight that the purpose of a review article should be to identify research gaps and provide direction for future research and set future research agenda. So that's the reason you can see research agenda is included in all the titles. But the problem is that, suppose if you are a PhD student and you are writing a literature review article, sometimes you do not have enough experience and exposure to develop future research agenda. So in such a situation, you need to have your professor who has experience in doing research and who has ideas for providing future research agenda as a co-author to write the future research agenda part. Sample size and time period. The thumb rule for a systematic literature review is to have minimum 50 articles to be included or to be reviewed. And it could be 50 to 500 depending upon the number of the articles and the popularity of the topic, because sometimes some topics, if you do review, you have lots of articles. But some topics are rarely researched, you have less number of articles. So that way, anywhere between 50 to 500 is considered as all right. And time period of publication to be included, minimum is 10 years and maximum is 50 years. However, in some cases, these days, sometimes some people write reviews immediately, but some journals, those kind of reviews get published only if an author has a good level of discussion and good level of rapport with the editors. For example, Metaverse. Many people publish review on Metaverse immediately after Metaverse. And they have done it only because they have some network with the editors of those journals that are published, and those editors have published it because if you publish an article on a new topic as a first mover, that helps them to get downloads. If you have downloads and citations as well. So otherwise, the conventional or traditional norm is to have a minimum 10-year period of articles. Findings, focus on findings. Yeah, so I would like to acknowledge the ideas or enlightening by Professor Gabriel Benito from BI Business School, Norway, who was instrumental in helping me at some particular point of time when I was a junior researcher. And I co-authored a review article with him, and he, at that time, highlighted and enlightened me, asking me to focus on findings of prior studies to be reviewed. This is a very important point, because this is important even when you write a literature review article, literature review chapter in your PhD thesis. Findings of prior studies. Sometimes people read articles, but people never try to extract the findings of prior studies. If you do not extract the findings of prior studies, and if you do not pool the studies based on the findings or similar or same findings, then your review will not look or will not turn out to be popular. So you have to extract the findings of prior studies when you review, when you attempt a literature review. And a table need to be or can be created to highlight studies with similar or same findings. Research gaps and directions for future research. Ideally, research gap need to be identified based on what others have done. For example, you are writing a literature review on international franchising, which I did. And what we identified that 80% of the researchers used agency theory to do research on international franchising. That means if everybody has done research using agency theory, you have to identify research gap in such a way that other theories need to be used in this area of research in future, because 80% of studies have already used agency theory. That means agency theory has become replete and recycled in the area of international franchising research. So you have to think about other theories which people can use in the area of international franchising as part of your future research agenda. So likewise, suppose if everybody has used PLS structural equation modeling, you have to say that everybody has used this PLS structural equation modeling, and you need to think about other methods in future. So that is how you have to identify the research gaps and provide ideas for future research, because doing research using same method or same variable or same theory is like replete and obsolete. So you have to think about and find alternative theories, alternative methods, alternative construction variable to suggest future research agenda. That is what is important, and at least 20% of weightage in a review article should be given for future research agenda section. Then only you get downloads. Otherwise, you never get downloads and citations. And ideally, future research agenda section should include theoretical dimensions and methodological dimension and construct-based ideas and what context studies can be done in future, what industries and what countries studies have already conducted and what industry studies can be conducted in future, those kind of ideas. Now I go on to types of review article, different type of review articles. Review article can be broadly classified as domain-based review, meta-analytical review, conceptual review, that is review aiming for theory development or proposal, theory-based review, and method-based review. These are classifications of different type of review articles. And domain-based review is the most popular form of review articles, and it is topic-based, and there are thousands of review articles falling in the category of domain-based review. So let me explain this one by one and these classifications. Domain-based review article can be further classified as structured thematic review. Example is International Franchising Literature Review and Research Agenda in Journal of Business Research in 2018. This is a structured thematic review with 10 tables in the review, giving information about what theories are used in prior studies and what methods are used, what constructs and variables are used, and what context studies are conducted, all those kind of information. And type 1.2 domain-based review can be classified as framework-based thematic review. So there are different frameworks available to write a domain-based thematic review. Callahan called for using 5W and 1H framework in 2014 article. 5W stands for what, why, who, where, when, and H stands for how. This is an organizing framework to write a systematic literature review. And myself and Professor Gabriel Benito, we introduced ADO framework, antecedent decisions and outcome framework, and called for people to think about ADO framework as an organizing framework to write systematic literature review. And some European researchers had come out with a framework called IMO framework, inputs, mediators, and outcome framework. They classified all the studies using those three constructs. I mean, using those three letters and as an organizing framework. And I was instrumental in introducing TCCM framework, and because I found when I was teaching the PhD students, I found the vacuum at that particular point of time, because I found only 5W and 1H framework is the only comprehensive framework to write systematic literature review. There is no other framework, and even 5W framework is a little bit not, falling under kind of unclear thing, because it does not really suggest theories and methods and those kind of things. Those kind of things are required by junior researchers to understand. So TCCM stands for theories, characteristics, context, and methods. This suggests that you can have an organizing framework, TCCM as an organizing framework, and you can explore, you can synthesize what are the theories used in prior studies, what are the characteristics of prior studies. Characteristics include constructs and variables studied in previous papers by others. And C stands for context, what industry context studies have been conducted in the past, whether it is in information technology industry, pharmaceutical industry, or banking industry, or the insurance industry, education industry, what industry studies have been conducted. And methods, what methods are used. In prior studies, people apply logistic regression, or people use survey methods, people used experimental studies, or mixed methods, or qualitative methods like interviews. So those are methods. What methods have been used in prior studies, and you make tables using all these 4 dimensions, 1 or 2 tables for theories, and 1 or 2 tables for characteristics, and 3rd table for context, and another table for methods, so it can be even more table for 1 alphabet-based dimension. Yeah, originally we introduced this TCCM in our International Marketing Review article on gradual internationalization versus born global model. And then a lot of others have used TCCM model, TCCM framework in their studies. Plain vanilla review, narrative review is another type of review article. which is having only few tables. For example, if you look at framework-based review, or if you look at structured review, which I classified as structured thematic review under domain-based review, they have much more number of tables. They have 8 or 10 tables to structure the information and synthesize all the information. But in plain vanilla type of review, narrative review, article will look more like a newspaper article. So, which means that few tables and more plain vanilla descriptive write-up. Yeah. Some of the European universities give honorary doctorate to some editors. I have seen that Swiss University has given this to an Academy of Management journal chief editor. Recently, European Journal of Information Technology, Information System, I think the name of the journal is that. That journal's chief editor got an honorary doctorate from Finnish University, and University of Warsztat had given this same thing to International Business Review chief editor, and then they published all these kind of plain vanilla review articles in these journals, you know. So anyway, so that is not my cup of tea, but I just wanted to tell you that plain vanilla review sometimes get accepted for those kind of reasons. So type, but if you are an ordinary writer, ordinary researcher, plain vanilla reviews will get rejected. So domain-based bibliometric review. Yeah, sure. This is simply called as bibliometric review, but I would like to name it as domain-based bibliometric review. Yeah, the softwares like VOS visualization of similarities, and BiblioShiny, those kind of software to do its kind of review. And software generate nice figures, but the limitation of bibliometric review is that it does not include, it does not have methodological contribution, it does not have theoretical contribution, because the purpose of a bibliometric review is mainly to identify who are the most cited authors and which are the most cited papers, and it also has a cluster analysis component in bibliometric software, but the software doesn't capture theoretical or methodological dimension, which is the focus of many premier journals, because articles need to have theoretical and methodological contribution to get more downloads and citations. That is why many premier journals reject this type of articles, but you can publish in tier 2 journals if you write a bibliometric articles. So what I'm talking about is, in Poland, maybe tier 2 journals might be considered as premier journals. I don't know, because what is required in your university, what is the expectation of the university, that part I don't know. But what I'm trying to say, when I say premier journal, means very elite journals. Yeah, one review paper which I would like to recommend you to follow if you're writing bibliometric review article is a review article titled Open Innovation, published in Journal of Product Innovation Management by Australian authors. Okay, the next type of review article is meta-analytical review. There are softwares available to do this kind of review, and most popular software is comprehensive meta-analysis. And to do a meta-analysis review, you only need to have about 25 or 30 studies. You don't need to have 50 or 100 studies. Because meta-analysis review is based on very specific set of relationship between certain variables and other variables, you know, like dependent and independent variables, and you need to have very specific set of studies exploring the same relationship. So that is why you just need to have approximately 30 articles to do a meta-analytic review. So, but they need to have same relationship testing, and classic meta-analysis review which I would like to recommend is meta-analysis of customer engagement behavior, published in International Journal of Consumer Studies by Barari and his co-authors from Australia. They are from Griffith University, and this article is one of the most downloaded articles from IJCS. And since I have time constraint, I would go. I would go ahead with my remaining slides. The next point is conceptual review, that is type 3 review. Conceptual review normally has testable propositions, and it is aiming for theory development, or it is aiming for concept development. And you need to have an original idea as your brainchild. Some of you may be having child or children, but child is different from brainchild. So as a professor or as a PhD student, you need to produce at least one brainchild. So the brainchild is your original contribution. For example, dynamic capability theory is a brainchild of David Teese. Theory of planned behavior is a brainchild of Hudson. And model and mass teach theory is a brainchild of Justin Paul. And you need to have some brainchild. And and this is one of my article with Eric Maas, who is an assistant professor with Kelley Business School, Indiana University these days. And we had come out with a framework called, to a 7P framework for international marketing. And this framework is for companies to look at 7P construct to think about using or applying when they go to a foreign market as part of their international expansion. And this framework is based on an equation or a formula, which is performance is a function of potential, path, process, pace, pattern, and problems. And what we call for in this framework is that a company which is expanding from Poland to Germany or Poland to Scandinavia, crossing this ocean, they need to look at their potential, their processes to follow. They need to decide in advance their path to follow, and they have to also decide their pattern. They have to look at their pace at which they will do business, and they will expand, and they will set up their branches, and they will all have to decide organic and inorganic processes. And they will have to also understand problems in advance. Problems are two types, expected and unexpected problems. We explain all these P constructs systematically and scientifically and develop this construct as part of this conceptual review. This is a conceptual review based on international expansion of Latin American companies expanding to other countries, including expansion of Latin American companies to the US as well as to Europe and other countries. So it's a conceptual review based on about 56 articles of Latin American companies' international marketing activities or international expansion activities. So conceptual review, like this, you can also think about a conceptual review. And even dynamic capability theory was originally developed as a conceptual review article published in Strategic Management Journal. Yeah, so okay, so now moving on to next type of review is review article. Yeah, so this is the same type of review. So this is some other examples for this type of articles I'm giving is another 90% of the articles published in Academy of Management Review and Academy of Marketing Science Review. They are known as AMR and AMS review. So they falls in this category, review focusing on theory development. That is nothing but conceptual review. That's the same thing that I was talking about in the previous slide. Yeah, they normally include development of theoretical propositions which can be tested as hypotheses in future studies by others. You need to derive testable propositions as part of this kind of papers. So you also need to derive a theoretical model or a theoretical framework which will be later known as your brainchild, or you will be known for that. But academia moves slowly, so you will become famous only after 10 years because academia is not fast. So yeah, okay. The next type of review is theory-based review. This is nothing but application of a theory in a specific field. Oh, this slide is not very clear, but two examples I have given. One is role of self-determination theory in marketing science, an integrated review and agenda for research, European Management Journal. Role of self-determination theory. This is a theory from human resource field, but many researchers have used this theory in marketing research. So you select a theory and search and download all articles employing that theory in a very specific field, and then you do a review of how they have used this theory, what constructs are part of that theory. So this kind of theory-based review. So for example, I have come across this type of review article on institutional theory in international entrepreneurship research. So role of institutional theory. So you search and download all articles using institutional theory in international entrepreneurship research and then conduct a review based on those studies. And another review article which we published in IJCS recently is theory of consumption value in consumer behavior research. Theory of consumption value was developed by Jagdish Seth, and many other people have used this theory of consumption value in consumer behavior research. And Yeah, so a Turkish author based in England did this review and published in our journal. These are two examples. There are several other examples too. Method-based review. Method-based review is, so you select a method and look at how people have used this method in future research. For example, two examples I would like to give you. One is mixed method research in IT area, mixed method research in information system area. This is a review article published in premier journal MIS Quarterly by Venkatesh, Brown and Bala in 2013, which has thousands of citations. Mixed method research in IT area. And another method-based review which I would like to suggest is a 2022 article by Divanchi. What he has done is that FSQCA, I don't know whether you know FSQCA. FSQCA is a research method. So maybe Ivana knows that. I don't know whether she's there. So FSQCA is a research method, and what Divanchi has done is that he downloaded all the articles applying FSQCA in consumer behavior research. And then he reviewed all the articles, and he looked at how researchers have used FSQCA in consumer behavior area, and he did a review and provided future research agenda. So you select a method and field. Even FSQCA in service research can be done, FSQCA in brand management can be done, and you select a method or PLSSEM in a specific area, or experimental research in brand management, or experimental research in brand equity research, experimental research in online consumer behavior research, or you select a method and select a field and then do a review. So that kind of review is called as method-based review. Okay. Review article, some experience sharing. When I was an associate editor of Services Industries Journal, the editor-in-chief assigned me a review article titled Microfinance in South Asia. It was not directly related to services industry, but still others submitted, and then the editor-in-chief made a remark to me stating that this review article is just based on studies from South Asia. So that is not good enough. If it is an empirical study, it can be based on one country, but if it is a review article, it should be at least cover a continent or the whole, all studies in the global context. So he asked me to desk reject it because main reason was that it was just based on studies in South Asia. Yeah, because many journals have the target audience. They would like to target their papers to be read, downloaded, and cited by global audience. So you have to write for the global audience. Yeah, so questions? Yeah, I know that we don't have much time, but if you have questions, I can quickly answer. Normally, I do it like 2 hours, 3 hours with specific papers, so yeah, but...
Yeah, Justin,
yeah.
May I?
Yeah.
I'd like to come back to your initial stage of clarification. How about the base from Gray literature? Should we add some like base pool or Google Scholar? Is it possible to add besides this Web of Science, Scopus?
Yeah, you can search and download article from Google Scholar, but the problem is that when you search on Google Scholar, you end up downloading articles from local journals, articles from unknown journals. That is a problem with Google Scholar. But but you have to decide. But you can download the article using Google Scholar, but then select article based on one of the criteria that I suggested.
Okay. How about excluded papers? Should it be in the appendix, showed in a table?
Now, excluded papers you never include in the article. Only included paper you are reviewing and including the reference list.
And how about adding inspirational? Sometimes, in the references of the pool of at the very beginning, when you search the bases, you find, let's say, 100. And then in those references, you might find some inspirational papers that were not visible for the first search because there were no keywords in abstract or in title, but they are, quite interesting.
Yeah. So that's why I said you have to use objectivity plus subjectivity criteria. So, I give you two criteria. They are objectivity criteria. So, objectivity-based criteria, but you have to also apply subjectivity-based criteria to ensure that all the relevant articles are included.
And is doing systematic literature review by one author is a kind of limitation in the sense that
it is not a limitation provided your article is a classic article. Okay.
And how about these 3 stages that you proposed? What's the difference if it's about Prisma and your assembly, arrange and assessment?
Prisma, there was no alternative. TINA means there was no alternative. So when so Prisma was like a TINA, but it was not very comprehensive. If you read SPAR for SLR article and Prisma and compare both, you will understand. Then you will talk to me tomorrow, you will ask for my phone number. But if you don't read, then you will never ask me for my phone number. That is the difference.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Anna Kamińska, Politechnika Wrocławska. I have a maybe a little bit tricky question. However, do you think that the AI can replace the people in doing the literature review? What is your point of view? Because now it's a matter of our future in general in a cases of publications. And how do you see that? I've been in a different panel about this topic, but they said, okay, we can feel afraid of it. But what's your point of view? You're the specialist, you know how to validate it. And in general, should we be afraid? So should we change our approach to doing the research?
AI cannot identify research gap. AI cannot write future research agenda, but AI can help you to refine your write-up as perfect English write-up. So ChatGPT can do that. ChatGPT can change your reference format. ChatGPT can improve your English level of your write-up. Such kind of job ChatGPT can do. But ChatGPT cannot do everything to write systematic literature review. So literature, there is a difference between what is popularly known as literature review chapter in PhD thesis, which is done by many researchers as a cut and paste job. AI can do that cut and paste job, but it is not going to be accepted in any good journal. Because to get accepted in a good journal, you need to have some useful content. That can only done by a human being who has expertise and who has mindset to work hard with dedication and determination.
Are you able to identify now that, for example, this was done by the AI? Are there the tools? Sorry.
AI is a useful tool, as I said. Even recently I converted my references from Chicago style to APA style using ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, your write-up can be improved by ChatGPT. That is correct, but you still need to write. But ChatGPT and those kind of AI tools are helpful. Suppose if you give an assignment to a master degree student, he can cut and paste using those kind of things. But it will never become a perfect publishable research paper in a decent journal.
Okay, thank you very much for this answer. I was hoping that you will say something like this, because from my point of view, this is something that we should be a little bit scared, so this should motivate us to be better and better. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I did research on ChatGPT too, and I have an article on ChatGPT and consumers, which is getting a lot of downloads these days. I was the second one to write an academic article on ChatGPT. So along with my co-authors from Middlesex University, London, Charles and Akiko. So ChatGPT is a very useful tool, but it is not going to replace your thought process. You still need to be a thought leader to write an article. There is something called that. I haven't used it, but there is something like that. Yeah, I know that the chat PDF exists.
Okay, no, the question was regarding chat PDF, because I've heard there is a website where you can upload a PDF and you can ask this chat what this PDF is about, so you can avoid reading. I haven't used that. I know people who have used it, so That was my question only, if you have any experience.
Yeah, I mean, but such things will help you to read, but
Yeah.
such things, will not help you to
Sure.
come out with a research paper, so because again, even if you copy something, it's a similarity that will be shown in the similarity software, if you copy somebody else's work,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is available online.
But assuming you use ChatPDF, should you somehow include this information in your literature review?
You see, you suppose, so,
The idea is to provide the full transparency if you use any sort of support by generative AI, right? The other thing is that putting some ideas to yours. Actually, the trick is that you can learn ChatGPT to learn about the papers, and using the careful prompting, you can also tell him, or tell it, let's say, to make a summary table. And of course, you need to go and check whether, because the ChatGPT is hallucinating, yeah, faking, writing you many fakes, considering the references, the false references. This is something that does not exist at all. So I think that if we use any type of support, we have to be very transparent, right? That we used, if we decided to use. But actually, I think that the future is that our role will be, to provide the good prompting for ChatGPT, but the reflection at the end could be our own, contribution.
yeah, I mean, ChatGPT can generate certain paragraphs for you, but you have to rewrite it.
And just one question more. I think that you asked about the detection of using the ChatGPT. So how advanced you are in your journal to have some detector of the usage of ChatGPT in the papers that you review?
Similarity software may not be capturing what ChatGPT is generating. That is why people have an advantage of generating some text from ChatGPT, but to have a flow, because any paper need to have flow from one paragraph to other paragraph. So you have to read what ChatGPT is generating for you and rewrite it. Otherwise, you will not have flow. So similarity software currently may not have the facility to capture what is ChatGPT is generating. That may be the limitation of similarity software. But in future, similarity softwares might get refined or developed even to capture what ChatGPT is generating, maybe in future. But currently, it is not capturing.
Pytanie jeszcze jedno?
Yeah, we had a lot of questions related to some kind of technology. Yeah, maybe a little bit old-fashioned question related to old-fashioned aspects. What do you think about, because we have discussed about what kind of journals with some high impact factor, with some database, which should be included in some kind of bibliometric analysis or some kind of other type of literature review. And what do you think about including in such a research some kind of papers in national languages? So because you told us that 50 years, so this is some kind of scope which we can, from 10 years, from 15 till 10 years, it could be the scope which could be included. If we are talking about the 50 years, so if there is a lot of papers in some kind of national languages. For instance, we are in Poland, so we have some kind of Polish journals with the papers in Polish. Yeah, what do you think about the methodology and implementing of such additional papers in such a literature review?
I mean, literature review article can be published in national journals as well. It's all right to consider or publish in international journals or national journal. It's all right, and depending upon the author and the editor to consider. Yeah.
Okay. The organizers suggest that we run out of time,
Sure.
and you were right that the question part was very active, and I think that 1 more or 2 hours would be good, but we don't have that. But we would like to thank you so much for the session, for answering the questions. And I understand that if someone wants to get some more information, can contact you.
Sure,
And
sure.
okay.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
So congratulations,
Thank
and
you,
we have
thank you,
certificate.
thank you, thank you,
Certificate.
thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can talk to me in person or send me an email or connect me on LinkedIn and send me a message there also. Thank you.
Thank you very much once
Please
again.
send me as a picture.
Okay.
Bardzo dziękujemy i przypominamy, że w tej przerwie trzeba się wyprowadzić i opuścić
At the
pokoje.
beginning, that research agenda, do you think it is really a must? For example, if the abstract then explain